Hey there. This is Kat, and I am live, and I have a really special guest today, and want you guys to really benefit from this beginning of a lot of new live broadcast series moving forward. So, Jason, I'm so fortunate enough to have Jason Tracey joined me today. He is CEO and founder of Roar Consulting. And basically, what Jason does is he is a sales coach. Um, I love his website and I love some of the things that he talks about. And the one profound thing that really stuck out with me was be the difference. And so, Jason is here to talk about intuitive sales. And if you are fearful of sales, or if sales is a just a negative word for you, then you need to tune in. You need to tune in and make sure you catch this whole episode today. So let me bring Jason on board and let him introduce himself to you. Hey,
What is
Jason.
up? How's it going?
It's going great. And thank you so much for joining me today. And so I guess I want to take this time for you to just give us some background about you and how you started your consulting business.
Yeah, wow, where did it start? So first off, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be on a couple days before Christmas, and let's bring in the new year and get rid of some of those sales stigmas and some of those sales fears for your audience. So, I love what you said as far as is sales a bad word? And I've spoken to thousands of people, and I always ask that question at the beginning of my presentation, or beginning of my talk is, what does sales mean to you? When I say the word sales, what feeling do you get? What words come to mind? In 99.9% of the time, it's all negative connotations. It's slimy, it's slick, it's greasy,
Yep.
it's unauthentic. It's all these really negative things. And people say used car salesperson, furniture salesperson. Not to call out any of you people that are in those things, but there's a bad name around it. And that was I will take it way back. I worked in a nursing home and I was a nurse's aide and I was paying my way through college and I realized there's only so many hours in the day. And so I was picking up all this overtime. I grew up really poor, so I was paying my own way through college. And I'm like, there's got to be a way to make more money in less time. And so I was looking in the newspaper for jobs because that's how old I am. That's what we did back in the day is we looked in the newspaper and I found this job and the headline really stood out to me. It said, do you like sports? And I'm like, that was a getaway for me. I love sports. It was like, do you need to make money? Do you like making money? I'm like, that's why I'm here. I'm here to make more money. And then I said, and this is I was 20 years old, 21 years old at the time. But I was 20 years old, and it said, "Do you like talking to members of the opposite sex?" I'm like, "Sign me up." I'm there. So I went to this interview, and I was interviewed for 10 minutes, and I knocked it out of the park, and they hired me. And I thought I must be amazing at sales. They saw my true potential really quickly. And the reason why I wanted to get into sales is because I felt like I was good with people. I felt like I was persuasive. People would give me things. People would
Right.
take care of me. Just in the nursing home alone, if you've ever worked in a place where there's division between departments, the nursing home was no different. There was the laundry department and the dietary department, and then you had the nurses, and then you had the nurses' aides, and there's all these factions. And people treated people in the different departments like they weren't human, like they were someone standing in their way of getting what they wanted a lot of times. And so I just treated people a little bit differently, and I always got things taken care of for me. And so I didn't realize then what it was that I was doing, but I'm like, you know what? I think I'd be really good at sales, and I heard you can make a lot of money. And so I ran out, I ran out and did this. And
Yep.
then I got there, and my sales manager was like, my introduction to sales. This is my sales training. He was like, "Have you ever watched the movie The Boiler Room?" I'm like,
Yep.
"No." "Have you watched it?"
Yep.
Great movie. I love the movie. I've watched it several times. It's in my DVD collection to this day. But I watched the movie and I'm like, oh, this is what we do. Okay, that sounds horrible. Like it gives me a pit in my stomach.
Yep.
And because of that, I really failed hard. I was going out there and going door to door, trying to sell people coupon booklets, and was being taught all these sales gimmicks and sales stigmas that Gave me a lot of anxiety. I would get sick in the morning thinking about going to work. I had nightmares about knocking on doors. Even after I quit that job, I'd have nightmares about doing it. And it got me into, like I said, a really bad position in life. I was facing eviction notices.
Yep.
I was behind on bills. I had my truck repossessed. I had things going on that I was just wasn't making any money because it was commission only. I was struggling in sales for a long time, and I had gotten a new job by this point, and I had a manager that this was really great words of advice. He's like, I know you're new at sales and you don't know exactly what to do. He was like, what I did when I was newer and younger is I'd go out and I'd shop the competitors. I'd go out and I'd pick the brains, or I'd go see what other people are doing, and I'd add that to my repertoire. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's a great idea. So I went out into the world thinking that I'm going to find out what all the great salespeople were doing. And believe it or not, I was extremely disappointed. I would walk into places, especially being a young man, I'd walk into a car lot and nobody would want to talk to me. I'd walk into all these different places where there were salespeople, and people would either ignore me because I was younger, or I looked like they made assumptions about me walking in, or they were trying to sell out of their pocketbook. They wanted to really pressure me and sell me. Nobody was taking the time to get to know who I was. Nobody
Right.
was trying to understand what my needs, what my desires, what my concerns, what makes me tick, so they could really solve my problems. And so what I started to realize, and you mentioned it, be the difference. It doesn't take much to be different than most of the salespeople out there. Most of the time we're operating from an inward mindset, meaning we're worried about our commissions, our how we're going to eat, how we're going to pay our bills. At the end of the day, is the manager going to pull us aside and put us on a performance plan because we're not hitting quota? Does my wife want a new boat? Like all these things are in my head on the sales floor. And so when the customer comes in, or when I'm talking to a customer, if I'm thinking about those things, am I serving my client at the highest level? Am I
Right.
listening to them? So a way to stand out and be different, tip number one, and this is a good one to write down, operating out of the outward mindset. And this is easier said than done. I still remind myself with every conversation I have is that I'm not selling them something, right? I'm not thinking about me. What's going on in this person's world? Who is this person? And is there a way that I can serve them? Is there a way that there's something that I do that can help them? Or do I know somebody that I can connect them with that can put them in a better position? So when you think about that other person and what they have going on, they're the most important person in the room.
Right. Just to interject a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
Jason, because the thing that I learned, because, I have, 30 years of a sales background, and I, like you, learned all the gimmicks and all the tricks of the trade. And to me, I use the consultative approach because I feel comfortable with it. I
Yeah.
respect people with that approach. But the thing I think about the most every time I talk to a future customer in my mindset is put myself in their shoes. What's in it for them?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I want
Yep.
someone to treat me the same way. And I,
Yeah.
like you, I'm like judging other salespeople, and I'm like picking them, and then trying to understand, like, why would you use that tactic? Wow. You know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's that's the first step to really. I noticed in just sales in general, and I've spent over 2 decades in sales, and I became a sales leader, so I was put in position to train and develop and coach and
Yep.
mentor new salespeople or veteran salespeople, and I noticed people just getting stuck in that process, and in not opening up, and yeah, it creates that stigma that people have around sales.
Exactly. So, okay, so let's bring it back to, like, for our audience, anybody who's participating and watching. I guess the first thing is the typical client that you work with, what are do they have the reservation and hesitation because they get that built up anxiety because they don't know how to start or what to
Yeah,
do? Is
yeah,
that typically the mindset that you're working with?
Yeah. So when I started my business, I started my business because I had been successful myself. I'd taken those principles and I became a student of the game, and then I was
Yep.
able to teach other people, and I became known in my career as a sales leader, being able to take organizations that were struggling and transform them and put them at the top of their industry. And so by doing that, I saw so many businesses that were struggling or going out of business because they were trapped in sales. They couldn't get around the sales, and if you can't sell, there's only so long that you're going to exist as a company. If you're not bringing in money,
Yep.
it doesn't matter how great you are at what you do. And so
Yep.
I'm like, sales is so easy. We make it so hard based around this fear and these stigmas and thinking about ourselves. Now, when I got out here in the world and I'm trying to find my place as a sales coach, a sales consultant, I was going and picking the brains of other coaches and consultants and other entrepreneurs that I saw successful. And especially when it came to coaches and consultants, I was sitting down with people and I'm in awe of the impact and the power they have to transform people's lives. However, I got really, really grateful for my experience in spending over 2 decades in sales and knowing how to do sales the right way, because I'm watching people that, again, they have a phenomenal product in themselves and in what they're
Yep.
doing in their coaching, but they were having fear around bringing up price and selling. They were doing a lot of coaching for free because they had a hard time bringing up that price, or they weren't landing clients because as soon as they did bring up the price, they had a horrible, they didn't have a sales process. How many people go out there and market on social media and throw out up all the posts or send messages to people, but they don't have a process to go
Yep.
through and actually land clients. And so I'm watching this happen, and I realized these are my people. So I work with people that have they're heart-centered entrepreneurs that have a purpose, a passion, or an expertise, and sales is not one of them. And what I've noticed with most of my clients is they've spent a lot of money already trying to become a better salesperson. They've been through the trainings, they've been through the coaching programs.
Yep.
The problem is nobody dives in and customizes it to their difference. Nobody takes I'll give you an example. I worked with a recruiting company and a couple of phenomenal guys running this and building this organization. They have talking to them, you can see their difference. But when they're in sales, in that sales mode, and they were going through another sales training program, they were not being themselves. They were being what the sales training and what the scripts told them to be. And it's hard enough being successful when you're being yourself. Now
Yep.
try being somebody different, and it feels so unauthentic, and it feels unnatural and uncomfortable. And because of that, they were not landing the clients that they deserve based off of what it is that they do.
Yep.
And so helping people, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think, because you make a great point, because if I think about the clients that I have, and we really parlay together really well, just so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, because marketing, you can have the best marketing in place. You could spend a ton of money and have the awesomest marketing in place. But if you don't have a really, really great sales team or somebody to close that, it doesn't
yep,
matter, you
yep.
know?
It
It's
doesn't.
it's like like having this golden egg but not being able to do anything with it because you don't have the people on the back end to really tie that together and close it and put that little bow on it, right?
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
we really do parlay together really well. I guess the thing that I see a lot of, or that I hear from potential clients or people when I do consulting, is two big things. People that are afraid to close and they don't know what close mean, okay?
yeah,
People are
yeah.
afraid to close. And then the second thing is they don't wanna follow up because they think they're
Mhm.
bugging
Yep,
somebody,
yep, yep,
right?
yep, yep.
And then the follow-up probably is the biggest caveat because you're never gonna close that business, right, if you don't follow up. I mean, so I'm sure I would love to get your insight on that because to me, even when I was a trainer, it was hard to get people to follow up and to get people to ask for the order, you know?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so before the pandemic, the stat was always that it takes 5 to 6 follow-ups in order to land a sale. Now I've heard it's like 9 or 10, so I've heard it's
Yep.
increasing drastically. And I guess it depends on the rapport and that they know, like, trust you and that kind of thing. However, you're right. So many people give up at one. The average person does only one follow up, and they just expect that that's their, oh, I have this
Right.
person, they're going to buy from me. That's just not the way it works, because if somebody tells you they're thinking about it or whatever the case may be, they're not literally sitting there thinking about it. Life is going on for them, and they're probably going to find somebody that is going to then follow up with them, they're going to end up doing business with. It's just, you have to make sure you're following up. Now, a way to make follow up easy in your process is to set the expectation. And
Yep.
so the way that I work with my clients, and one of the key foundations is, what's the next step? There should always be a next step that you're driving to. And so if I'm ending the conversation like, Kat, what's the next step from here? Where do we go next? You're like, all right, I need to talk to my partner. Call me next week. Awesome.
Correct.
Wednesday, now I'm drilling down. Okay, so I'm going to give you a call on Wednesday in the morning. Is that good? 9 o'clock. All right, I'll give you a call. Now, when I call you on Wednesday at 9, I'm going to say, hey, Kat, I'm calling you just like we discussed, just giving you that quick follow-up, whatever. I've set if I don't call you, I'm a jerk. If I don't call you,
Right.
I'm somebody that's not following up. I've now put my reputation on the line. If whatever my product or service or whatever it is that I'm selling or doing as a business, if I'm not doing what I'm saying I'm going to do, it's just even a simple follow-up, then how am I going to give you and deliver the product? That's a very big testament. So it's all about shifting those lenses and seeing in the reality, instead of thinking about it as bugging someone, you're serving them at the highest level. And
Right.
by following up, you're already being different than the majority of salespeople and business developers and out there, that they're not following up. So that client, they might not even think about it consciously. It's
Yep.
a subconscious thing, like, oh, that's different. Oh, and I've had clients I've worked with, I've had this happen to me, where somebody after the 7th or 8th follow-up, like, wow, you're persistent. Wow, thank you so much for being on me. It just wasn't the right time, but I appreciate the relationship we've built.
Yep.
The more
So
times you can contact. Yeah.
yes. So I'll give my perspective on that because I get a lot of people that prospect me and try to sell me. Okay. And
Yep.
my perspective on that is I'm super busy. I'm like crazy busy.
Yep. Yep.
And as a leader, as a CEO, as a president of your company, whatever title it is that they're calling on, and hopefully it is the highest title, right?
Yep. Yep.
But the higher you go, the more consumed that person is. So it is incumbent on you to really make sure that you remind them, hey, you were interested in this. You really wanted this. I'm just here to help you move this along. I'm here to help you. Tell me the timeline. Tell me when to get back in the game.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and I can appreciate it. I can appreciate it, especially if I sincerely tell that person, I'm interested. I'm interested. But give me a week or something to get out of the pocket I'm in or whatever it is that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So, and to me, that is something that has to be trained to somebody to coach and train them to be persistent, because if you're not persistent, then you will lose that business and
Yep.
somebody else is going to get it.
Yep.
Somebody else, because they
Oh,
were interested.
and that's the worst, when you call on somebody a couple years later and like, hey, how's it going? We talked a couple years ago or 6 months ago. Oh yeah, sorry, I already went with somebody else.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they didn't have the desire or the need, they did. They just didn't go with you because you didn't follow up. And so a few months back in the summertime, we were getting quotes to get one of our trees trimmed.
Yep.
And we did 3 quotes. Not there were and they literally told us they were going to follow up with us and get us
Yep.
quotes. 3 different companies. They said, all 3 guys said, well, I'll follow up with you and send you a quote and email. How many quotes do you think I got? I got 0. I got 0 people
Oh
followed up with me.
no. Oh
Yeah.
my.
And that,
Oh
yeah,
my.
I'm not going to go into the whole story, but that's the thing. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I would never call these companies again.
Right.
They dropped the ball. And
Oh yeah.
so it's shifting your lens. And if you don't think about it like you're bothering somebody, think about it like it's your word.
Yep.
And you've told this person you're going to follow up with them. And as soon as you make that commitment, if you don't do that, that's a testament of who you are as a person and who you are as your company, or representation of your company. You're a person that doesn't follow up. Why would they do business with you?
I agree, and that's a great example. The other thing I wanted to kind of mention and talk about is leadership, right? So at the end of the day, like the businesses that we work with and help are small to mid-sized businesses. Sometimes they're solopreneurs, sometimes they're independent contractors, sometimes they're multi-level marketing people, sometimes they're startups, or they're just a small business with a small team, right?
Yep.
So they're really heavenly reliant on either a lot of people wearing multiple hats, right? Or
Yep. Yep.
that one specific person to develop this business. So my question to you is, because I struggle with this when I talk to my clients, is if the leader or whoever it is, the president, leader, director, whatever, cannot sell their own product, do you
Mm.
think that they should do you think they should hire someone and then hold them accountable when they can't even sell their own product? Give me your input on that because I struggle with this.
It's important for that leader to be able to understand how to sell their product. Now, they don't necessarily have to be the person that's the business developer and having the
Right.
conversations. They could hire somebody. But what I see a mistake that so many business owners make, I'm going to open up this business, and then because I'm not good at sales, I'm going to hire a rock star sales team, and they're going
Yep.
to go out and do it for me. There's like less than 1% of people out there that you're going to find that are just going to go out there and do it themselves. They're just going to go out there and run with your program and not know how to sell it and put together their own sales process. And you've got to have somebody helping you understand what it is you sell, understanding your story, understanding how to position that, how to communicate with your clients, what the standard operating procedures are, what is your sales process. How do you coach and develop somebody on your team and expect them to land sales and hold them accountable if you have no clue? And I work with clients in a couple of ways, and I'll give you this quick example. I do sales coaching with entrepreneurs that are like in that boat. They're solopreneurs. They don't have a sales team, and that could be because one, maybe they don't want to. Maybe they just want to be solopreneurs. Two,
Yep.
maybe they don't have the resources to be able to go out and hire a sales team, or they don't even know where to start. Um, so I'll work with them on that, but then I'll also work with companies and be their fractional sales leader. And so I'll come in and we'll build out their sales process, their whole sales system. We'll build out that brand story and their sales story. And then I'll coach, mentor, and lead their sales team while also continuing to work with that sales leader. And so I had a company a few years back hire me because they had a salesperson, they're IT guys, and they had a salesperson on their team that they were paying $50,000 a year plus a very very nice commission structure, though this person never made commission because in 2 years she didn't sell a single thing. And so they paid this person over $100,000 when you include payroll tax and all that good stuff for 2 years and didn't sell a single thing. They brought me on to make this person a better salesperson. Well, these guys are phenomenal at what they do. They're the difference. They have an incredible difference, and it's amazing to go out there and sell them now. But this person didn't have a target market she was after because the IT guy, thinking like an
Yep.
engineer, we can help anybody. So this person's out there like, where am I going? Where do I even start? And so to even expect that person to go out there and really find the target market, she's like saying and spraying. She's hoping and praying for
Yep.
something to land. So being able to be that person and that sales leader that's in between, that's coaching them and being there for the salesperson, helping them with their target market, helping them communicate, helping them overcome the objections and the belief system that you have, and really fine tuning that process, but also being able to work with that leader to understand what goals need to be hit, what
Yep.
structure needs to be put in place for that salesperson, how they hold them accountable. It needs to be worked on both ends.
And I agree because as a previous sales leader, my whole mantra was I'm going to show you by example. I'm going to do
Yep.
it and I'm going to show you how to do it because
Yep.
I'm going to show you if I can do it, you can do it. With that being said, okay, with that being said, do
Yeah.
you think anybody can be a salesperson?
I don't think anybody can be a salesperson. I think there are definitely people out there that can't, that it's just not. They're, like I used to think I could make anybody a
Are you a
salesperson, but there are
salesperson?
some
Yep.
people that are just so introverted or so socially awkward, and
Yep.
they know it, that it just is what it is, that they're never going to be salespeople. I think that anybody that has a passion in enjoys communicating with people can sell.
Okay.
I had I had a guy on my team. He was a real C-type personality. He was
Yep.
introverted. The expression on his face never changed, whether he was happy, he was sad, no matter what. And he used to tell me, I'm the worst salesperson ever. I don't know why you have me on my team and on your team. And I'm like, Chris, every year you finish top 5 in my company. And
Right.
here's the reason why. Nobody guesses who you are. Nobody guesses, is Chris going to rip me off? Is Chris being untruthful? They see your integrity shining through. They see who you are. And the really cool thing is he was working in a location with the top salesperson in our company that was this gregarious personality, that was extremely extroverted, that everybody loved. But he
Yep.
didn't try to be him. He just was Chris. He didn't
Yep.
try to be
Yep.
Josh. He was just Chris. And people trusted him and believed in him. So from that standpoint, I think that almost anybody can sell. Almost
Okay.
anybody can sell.
So with that being said, do you also help companies like vet out these resumes and sort through these people that they want to hire as their potential salesperson or business development person?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
In fact, with the IT company, that one salesperson ended up not working out, and so we had to hire new salespeople, and I
Okay.
went through the process with them.
Okay. Because I think that's probably a big challenge for a lot of small businesses is once you take someone on, you kind of have this emotional tie. And
Yeah,
when you
oh,
can have,
absolutely.
yeah, when you can have someone that is not, part of the company, but like, kind of like you, like you're coming in as a fractional person where you can make those decisions and you can do that as opposed to them because it's emotional. It is totally
It's
emotional.
emotional, and going through that process in the beginning with the IT
Yeah.
guys, we would interview the first few people, and they're like, "Yeah, I think that person's good to go." And I'm like, "Tell me, what did you think? What makes you say that?" "Oh, they just seem really nice." Great. Okay. I saw something completely different. And it's because I've had the experience of
Yep.
interviewing salespeople for all these years and going through the process and seeing what works out and what doesn't. And even with their employee, as I dug in and started talking to her, she would tell me stories about when she sold 5 years ago. Salespeople are creatures of the now. They're going to tell you
Oh, yeah.
stories, good, bad, and indifferent, about what's happening, whether they're closing sales, whether they're being kicked in the face and being told no. They're going to tell those stories. She's telling me stories from 5 years ago. That's telling me that she hasn't been out and been in sales meetings in 3 years.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she's not active. And so by knowing that, I could give that feedback to the guys. And as we pressed her to put the work on and be held accountable to goals, we realized this is not the right fit, and we were able to move on.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
they hired me in the whole first place. The only reason they hired me was to make her work, because
Yep.
they were emotional to her. She'd been there for 2 years. She was nice.
Yep.
She did admin work for them. She would look for anything to do to justify why they had her as a job. So she's supposed to be selling, and she's like doing paperwork for them and helping them get caught up on stuff, just so they feel like she's an asset.
That is awesome. Let me stop for a moment and thank some people for participating.
Yeah.
Marlenis, thank you so much for joining us and all your feedback. I'm reading every one of your comments and
That's
I
so
can
awesome.
appreciate that. Howard Green, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that. There's Matilda. I don't want to say your name. I don't want to butcher it. Thank you also for joining us. And then there's a few people that don't have a name that are joining us. So everyone who is joining us, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And again, drop your comments below. Jason will certainly reach out to you or respond to you or
Yeah.
reach out to
Yeah.
him. You know,
Super awesome. I just
uh,
hit the comments button and saw all the comments. And Marlenis, I'm super excited to connect with you. I love it when great minds can align. So
yeah. Okay. So this is my final question to you as we wrap this up. Okay. And just circle this all the way around because part of sales, I mean, the whole part of having a sales leader and a sales team is to grow your business, period.
yeah.
Boom, right? If you want to scale, you're going to hire someone, bring someone in. You don't have to hire 3 or 4 people. You can do it one by one, right? So part of so I guess I want to know now, when the rubber hits the road, what does Jason bring to the table? Are you holding people accountable? Are you setting goals? Are the people reaching goals? Like, what are the facets that make you a success when people hire you? Like, do you have any case studies? Do you have any success stories? That's what I want.
Yeah, well, so like the IT company, they were doing less than 200,000 a year. Last year they did 500,000. This year they're going to hit 1.5 million. So we've been able to grow that as we hired that right fit salesperson and
Yep.
moved it in. I work with clients, and I find three areas where sales goes wrong, and that's in the belief system, in your communication process, and then in just process in general. So sales strategy or communication strategy, and then process. Process includes follow up.
Yep.
That's part of the process. So all those areas. Again, as I'm working with individual salespeople, it's helping them overcome those objections. It's helping to drill down who is your exact client market. Who are those people? That you hear all the riches and the niches. To be terrific, you got to be specific. It's so absolutely true. If you can serve everybody, where do you start? Where do you go? And so that's one of the key things as I sit down with entrepreneurs is really figure out who is it that you're serving. How do
Yep.
you solve their problems? Where are these people at? How do we find them? How do we get them to start paying attention to you? What makes you different in that landscape? And a lot of it is tied together with stories.
Yep.
People will tell me they're not good storytellers. I'll tell you what, Brene Brown says that stories are data with soul. And I really resonated with that. And so, well, I'll have people tell me their story. What is it? Tell me about your favorite client. Tell me that story. How'd you meet them? What was going on when you first met them? What were some of the challenges? Did they give you objections? What were some of the challenges they had? And then now that you've been working with them, what's their results now? And as they tell me those stories, there's so much data there. There's the right fit client, right? The people that
Yep.
you want to work with. You'll find referral sources and people
Yep.
that referred you, or how you found that person. I have a client that he met his two biggest clients while at a convention. Well, guess what? You haven't been to a convention in 2 years. Now it's time to start getting more conventions because we need to find more clients. If you found two clients in one convention, why aren't you going to that convention every year?
Yeah, awesome. I think that those are great suggestions and feedback. So, in closing, Jason, I guess just, uh, I mean, let the people or whoever is watching or tuning in,
Yeah.
and again, I appreciate it. How do they get a hold of you? What are some of the services you provide? And, what can they do to move things forward if they're going to plan on doing it themselves?
Absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn. You can check me out on LinkedIn, and I have a lot of content that I put out there, so you can kind of get a feel for some of the things we're doing. You can find me on my website, www.roar.consulting. So ROAR, like the lion, dot dot consulting. And from there, I also have a gift for your audience. And so they
Okay.
can start to put together their sales system. I have a Be The Difference workbook that they can go through. And it also walk them through a different lingo that I use, next step, desired outcomes, transition statements to help you smooth questions over and let people know why it is that you're asking questions and why it's beneficial to them. So there's a lot of goodies there. And then we're also giving away a 30-minute call to be able to go through that workbook. For
Awesome.
anybody in the audience that wanted to take advantage of that. So that you can find that www.roar.consulting. And then, so again, what I do, I coach entrepreneurs, I will help them create their sales system, overcome the limiting beliefs and the stigmas, define their communication strategy. And then also I will work if you have a team and you're struggling and you're the CEO, you're supposed to be doing other things. I will also be that fractional salesperson. And it's again looking for people that are heart-centered, that are
Yep.
they're in their business because it's their purpose, their passion, their expertise. I love really helping those people stand out. There's a lot to work there. They have incredible stories because it's their passion, and we can really get a lot of really quick results with them.
I love that. I'm just gonna hit this home for you because again, working with entrepreneurs now and then being a sales coach in the past is it costs a lot of money to have a salesperson if you don't have a leader in place to
Yeah.
really guide them and direct them so that they're profitable. So you're investing in that person, right? You're investing in that person. So if you hire someone and expect them to know this stuff, you're not going to have the same results
Yeah.
as if you had someone that mentored them and guided them. So, does that mean that Jason has to be on your team forever? Probably not.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean,
No.
I would think that you get them to a point, unless they completely continue to grow and they add another person and add another person.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, and that's the ideal situation, right? That they continue to grow, right?
Yes.
Um, And so as I look at and talk to entrepreneurs, again, marketing is awesome, and you have to have that. But you can have the best marketing in place. You can have all the best programs. If you don't have someone who's ready to close that business, if you don't have someone who can have the capabilities to pick up the phone and follow up, then it's all a waste of money.
Wasted
It's a
effort.
complete
Yep.
waste of money. They go hand in hand, hand
Hand
in
in hand.
hand,
And
you
I could
know?
see, and I when we first talked, I'm like, there's so much alignment there, and I can see where you could fit in with my clients. So we need to talk more about that. But I one of my clients a few months ago when we first started working together, they were like, "Hey, should we put you off until we got this lead company and they're going to give us these leads? And should we put you off until after we get those leads?" And it's like, no, that
No,
what are you going to do with those leads? And they're just going to sit there, or
right.
you're wasting them because you don't have a plan on how to make those calls. And not only that, but you're afraid to make those calls. So they're going to probably sit there and get dusty. But if you do make them, they're not going to be great. Let's start now and create a campaign. Let's start creating that process to get you going now, and if not, you're just wasting your money on marketing.
Oh, no, absolutely. Oh my God, I'm so thankful that you joined me today, Jason. Thank
Thank
you
you. Thank you.
so, so much. And in the notes and everything, I'll have Jason's contact information. If you're watching by video, you can see it below. And if again, reach out to him, because it's certainly worth your investment in 2022 if you plan on growth, if you plan on scaling. Sales is the way to do it. It is
It really is.
absolutely the way to do it. So if you have if you've already been marketing and you want to take it to the next step, it's time to really invest in your team and your business development. So thank you again, Jason, for joining us, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna like get you off the screen. And
Awesome.
again, thank you.
Hey, thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And I hope that you join me again. Um, as the weeks go, I'm going to continue to have my live broadcasts again, and I will do it every Friday at 11 a.m. Last week, I had a little disruption, but we'll bring that back on track. And as I always end this, you guys, you got this. So until next time, follow, connect with me, and reach out to me and let me know some of the topics you would love to hear moving forward. And I appreciate it. And I wish everybody a happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, and great things to happen in 2022. And so, am I going to say see you next year? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I don't think I'm going to be on again until next year. So, see you next year.